welcome to Kerry's Cards and Crafts. Today's tutorial is going to be on real time, and we're going to be using the Hues of Happiness 12x12 DSP that you can find on page 109 in the current annual catalogue to April 23. We're going to team it up with some navy card, in this instance Night of Navy, and we're going to make a pencil holder or pen holder or whatever you would like to do. So desk tidy, I suppose you could call it as well. So let's get started and work out how we're going to make two pieces of card become a lovely 3D project. I'm actually going to use this darker navy card DSP today rather than the patterned one, because I've already made one in the pattern, so you can see what that looks like as a finished result. This one could be, even though they look like flowers, could be a bit more masculine, but it's entirely up to you. So as always, the measurements can be found in the information for today's tutorial underneath in the YouTube channel video, but I've also popped in the measurements there in ink so that you can see them on the side. Again, pause at any time if you need to, if I'm going too fast. Other things you'll need for today are some scissors, some glue, and your trusty cutter trimmer, and if you do have one, a scoreboard would be useful, but if your trimmer has the score blade or score option on it as well, you could utilize that. So the first thing we're going to do is take our A4 sheets of card, and what we need are a number of 6 pieces of card initially, all measuring 8 inches in length. So the first call is along the shortest side of your A4 piece of card, cut it to 8 inches. I'm then going to take my largest one first, turn it round to the longest side and cut one at 4.5 inches. Pop it up there. And I'm just going to go along and tick so I know which ones I've done, because there's quite a few we need to cut. I'm then going to do 4 inches. And then looking at what I've got left there, to make sure we don't waste, I'm going to cut 3 inches. That's my 3-inch one. Then taking my second piece of A4 card, again, measure the 8 inches, turn it round, and I know we need a 3.5 inch. Two and a half inch, and a 2 inch. Okay, put that to one side. Whilst we're here with our measurements, I'm going to take my DSP at the same time and get those pieces cut that we need. So we need, everything is 2.25 inches, so I'm going to cut 2 strips at 2.25 inches wide. Piece out of the way. Then taking these 2 strips we have, one needs to be 3/4 inch. Now on my cutting board, I'm going to go this side because I've got more, it butts it up there and it makes it nice and tight. So that's my 3/4 inch. Then I want 1.25. One and 3/4. Two lots of 2.25. A 2 3/4 and a 3.25. If this is 3.25, then I'm going to keep this one as 3.25, so I don't have so much waste, and then use my other strip that we cut to make my 2 3/4. Keep this piece to one side because it might be that you want to add extra layers on your finished project, but you'll see what I mean when we get to that point. So we've cut all our pieces of card that we need there. We also need a piece of card, same colour card, navy, as whatever your base card is, at 5 inches by 5 inches. And this is going to make the base of your Desk Tidy a little bit stronger and maybe last longer. Put that up there out the way. So now I'm going to use my scoreboard for the next section that we're going to do. Put my pen away. So bring all these back in again. Now each of these, you group them in height order. You can see that. Okay, there were the difference. Each one you'll notice is stepped down by 1/4 of an inch. Now what we're going to do next has to happen on every single piece, and it's the same principle on each of these cards. So we need to score on the long side here. We're going to score at 2.5, 5 and 7.5 for each of those. I'm going to go ahead and start doing that now. 2.5, 5 and 7.5. Just pop that one up there. 2.5, 5, 7.5. 2.5, 5, 7.5. 2.5, 5, 7.5. 2.5, 5, 7.5. And last one. 2.5, 5, 7.5. So we've done that to each of our what's going to make our triangle shapes. Then we have to do the same again on each piece of card. Turn it around on the shorter side. Now we're going to measure, score at 1/2 an inch on either side. And because that's 2, go back 1/2 an inch. There. You can see the score lines on there quite well. We're going to do the same again for each channel. Half an inch off the end. And then that's 3.5, so coming 1/2 an inch to 3. If you don't have a scoreboard, incidentally, and you're wondering what to do, you could do it this way and do 1/2 an inch there. Where's my score thing gone? If you have one of the trimmer boards that has the scoring blade on it as well, scoring function, so measure at 1/2 an inch and go along, and then turn it round and measure again at 1/2 an inch. So that's your alternative way of scoring these pieces of card if you don't have the scoreboard. Pop that one down out of the way. So we're now left with our base pieces of card. Let's just check you can still see. Yep. And now because we're going to fold these, we're going to use our bone folder again to make sure that we burnish each one, because they're going to be folded. But they're not. It's not a moving card, but it's still much better if you burnish each one and make sure that the folds are nice and crisp, because it will help for a nicer finish on your pen pot holder or desk tidy. Oh, that's gone a bit funny. Make sure it's nice and straight. Okay, that's one done. What I've noticed as I'm just doing these, I do them in sections. If you do it in one long run, it seems to kick it out slightly when you've scored the line. 4 each one. Yeah. Third one. Fourth one, 2 more to go. And the last one. Okay, so we now have our 6 staggered. Look at that one, and that one. So these are all ours. So you can see now our final heights of our triangles that we're making. But what we need to do now is these thinner areas that we've got here, these are going to be our flaps to help make it even more solid as a box. So again, we'll do exactly the same as we did for each. The first one, we're going to repeat all 6 times. So with the fine end or the thin end of your score line on your right hand side, we're going to make a little tab by just cutting off the ends, and that's our little tab there. Then on these ones here, we also need to make these top ones and bottom ones into tabs. So by folding in half and just cutting that way and that way, you'll see that we've made a nice neat tab there and symmetrical, and do the same again. And then the end too. So that gives us our tabs then for each of our things, and it'll make it a nice, neat and tidy when we fold them up. So I'll just demonstrate again, keep going for the others. So corners, fold in half, fold in half, down to the corners. Half. Like these little snips, scissors. I don't think any scissors will do. Third one. So the larger we go, our tabs start getting bigger in height. Snips. And last one. Remember, you can pause or stop the video at any time if I'm going too fast, that's not a problem. Right, so let's get rid of all our little snippy bits, offcuts that we don't need anymore. So we then have our 6 pieces. All cut and ready to go for our various heights. Now normally, when you're doing a 3D project, you would then stick the DSP onto the boxes or onto your card while it's still flat. But for this one, it's much easier, I find, to do it afterwards. because it's quite tricky to understand which side of your edge you will need to stick your DSP to. Once they're stuck together, it's much more obvious. So I'm going to carry on as I would normally when making this one. I'm going to use glue at the moment now to stick these together. You could use double-sided tape if you want to be much quicker. So, but I like to use my glue, wet glue for this. So I'm going to turn them each one over, and we'll start with the smaller one and build up. So whichever way you do, you could glue them that way, or you could glue them that way with your tab left or right. But whichever way you start doing it, make sure you do it the same way for all of them. So I'm going to start with my tab on my right hand side, and then I'm going to put glue on the top tabs, top 3 tabs, like so, and then fold them over and hold them until they are dry. I tend to use 2 fingers on each one, using 2 hands. Obviously if you use double-sided tape, this will be much quicker, but I find the glue tends to spread and it holds it down better, and it gives it a much nicer finish. Okay, so that's those 3. I'll do the same again. If you've got pegs, you could use pegs and that could hold it down. I'm being quite generous with the glue because obviously I don't want these to lift up a few months down the line while I'm using it. Again, don't forget, I mean, I'm using Night Navy here and to match the paper that I've got, but you could make one specifically to fit with a colour scheme of a room or your study or your craft desk. Perfect, they fit perfectly with your Tombow glue, your pens, your... We'll see at the end when I show you what I can put in mine. What I put in mine. But this, the world is your oyster, you can choose. One. And what I do with this, you could build each one individually, but I tend to do them, it's like a bit of a production line that we've got going at the moment, so that you know what you're doing each time. Okay, let's put them back in the order. So we'll go back to our first one we've done. That should be nice and dry now. If you find you've got any glue that's come out, you can use your glue rubber to get rid of the stuff, the glue, so it's not so sticky. Mine's they've actually just brought the glue rubbers back out again into the Stampin' Up catalogue, the new mini, which is fantastic. It wouldn't be anywhere without mine, so that's taken the glue and the stick off. So we're going to make our triangle now, base. So essentially we're just going to bring it round, put glue on the outside of our tab now, not the inside like we did before. So on the outside, again, you can use your double-sided sticky tape if you prefer, but just make sure that you line it up as best you can. Let's just check and it's as symmetrical as it can be, because by doing that, I actually sometimes just squeeze it slightly as well like that. It means that you'll make sure that your triangle is as triangular as possible. It's a bit tricky to have a peg, so that's the first one done. We're going to leave these bases like as they are, but you'll see why as we move on. I'll take the next one. Make sure you're putting the glue on the outside tab, and again we'll line it up and make it as symmetrical as you can, and lining the top bit up as well. Taller ones are probably the more difficult, because obviously you've got to get your fingers down. So I put my fingers inside as well to hold the tab until I feel that it's secure enough. Put on the outside tab again, third one. Now Now don't worry too much if some of the glue comes out there, because all the next way we build it is we build it so that the joined areas all point into the centre of our hexagon. Is it hexagons because it's got 6 sides? Yeah, our hexagon shaped pen pot holder. Two more. If you do find you squidge a bit too much, that means you're going to have a really nice firm bit that you can rub it. It's fine. And the last one. Hopefully these should be nice and stuck. Again, if you've used double-sided tape, then you won't be having to hold it shut like I am at the moment. But I do find it gives me a little bit more wiggle room if I don't think it's quite level on the sides. Okay, so we now have our 6 triangle shapes that we now need to put together. So in this one we've done here, I've done it, stepped it up. So I've gone up 1 inch at a time. That's the most, I don't know, logical way. You can stick it together however you want to, but the measurements I've given you for the DSP are all these ones that you can see on here. If you decide to stick it together slightly differently, you may have other areas, so you might want to, you'll have to reevaluate what design series paper you're going to use and measure it. So for this one, for now when we're putting it together, I said earlier, make sure that you take the joined areas, and that's going to be our centre point. And when we're going to join it to the next, line them all up in height order if you want to do this, the stepped route that I showed you. Let's do it that way. There you go, you can see now. Put them with all my pointy edges on the top. I say pointy, I mean joined edges. So there are all our boxes ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is always glue the smallest side, not the biggest side that you're sticking, because you want to make sure that you've got the glue in the right place. Now I've got my 2 edges there, and I'm just going to stick. I'm going to use the flat of the table and stick them together, and then hold them while they set. But by just gluing the smallest side, you're not going to get any excess glue up here. That's the first one. You could plan and tip it up. So that's your next one, next size up. Again, utilise the flat of the table and push them down and together, and make sure these bits are flush here and here, and by doing that you're going to have a nice steady base. Another one, and make sure the edge is in the middle. You want quite a sturdy amount of glue on this one. You don't want it to come apart. Is that my join? That's the join. Where's my join? There. Now the final one, let's give that one a little bit more glue, I'll hold. The one that's going to slot in here, you need to put glue on the last 2 pieces there. So you'll need to put glue in here and in here. Okay, so on both sides, make sure you've got your join going in the centre, and then what should happen, you should be able to just slot him in and then hold him in place until the glue sets. Again, using the table to hold it down with your hands. I'm actually pressing it down to make sure it's still flat on the bottom whilst waiting for this one to stick. And when you feel that it's taken a little bit, then you can lift it up and make sure you squeeze them together. Okay, so you've almost finished. Okay, almost finished. The next thing you want to do is we're going to make the base for the cart, the box to stand on, so that it's nice and secure. Now, I've said you need a 5 by 5 inch piece of card. Now, all I've done basically on this is drawn around it with a pen. Very rough and ready. And then to make sure I'm in the right place when I re-put it down, you'll understand, because as much as it looks symmetrical, your hexagon is not going to be hexagonal as a true hexagonal. It's going to be slightly warped as much as you try. So that's my shape underneath, you can see there. Hopefully, let's have a look. You see where I've cut it? Drawn. And I'm basically just going to cut that out just inside, using my scissors, inside the line that I drew. Now I remember that was my smallest triangle. So I'm going to make sure that that lines up. So hopefully I've cut it okay. And then go around, and you will need lots and lots of glue now for this. Well, I say lots, but remember, only put it on these bits here, your tabs. And when you're ready, just pop it down back on top. Ooh. Lifting up, you can lift it up. And do it that way, and hold it by putting your fingers onto the base inside. Turn it over. If you need to, use a bone folder to help push down the edges so that it adheres to the base. If you've got a few bits that are overhanging, if you wanted to tidy it up, you can just go along with your scissors and cut them off to tidy up. Not too bad actually, quite impressed with this one. If I show you the base of that one, you'll see what I mean. That one wasn't very symmetrical, that one looks better. But who sees the base, hey? Okay, so there you have the basis of your desk tidy. Now we'll start sticking on our bits of DSP that we had. And you should be able to work out where each piece goes by looking at the size of it. I've cut it so that it gives you 1/4 of an inch around each one. So I start with the smallest one, turn around, Go to the next one. That one. And the next one. I think it's that one. And the last one on the outside of the box. And the one for the extra one that we have, the 2 by 2 1/4. And goes in there. So there we have our now decorated stepped box. Now the final touches, these are the finishing touches that you can then tinker with. You're quite happy to leave that box as it is. But what you'll see here is where I've done a different colour base, it's more obvious. You can see the base of the box through as you look down. But what I've done in this one here, so we've got the base, is I've actually put in triangles, again, thickening up the base of the box. So if you have a triangular die, there's one in the Stampin' Up sets, there's lots of different triangles, but this is a 2 1/4 inch by 2 1/4 inch, and it just fits perfectly in the box, the size that this one's done. So you glue it and then drop it in. If you don't have a triangular die, then what I've done is made the measurements for, let's put that one out of the way, how to make the triangles for yourself. So you need a piece of card that is 8 inches by 2 inches. I'll show you how to do that. And then 8 inches. And I would recommend doing this because it will strengthen the base of the box as well. I'm going to use my grid paper here. You can see down the bottom, lift it up. And I want to measure at 2 1/4. I'm going to draw lines at 2 1/4, 4 1/2, and 6 3/4 on this side. And then when I turn it over, I'm going to do the same. So I've turned it 180 degrees. I'm going to do 2 1/4, 4 1/2, and 6 3/4. And then for the purpose so you can see what I'm doing, I'm actually going to join them up with a black marker pen. Because actually this card's quite dark. That point there to there. And it should give you, it will give you 6 triangles once you've cut them out. It would be perfect to go inside and give it that extra bit of support that you need. Move that up. Now I've got the black on the edges, but don't forget, because it's symmetrical, I can turn it over and they will all just drop in and fit inside. Yeah, actually, should I put them in this one so you can see it better? Okay. Again, use some glue. Where's the one that went in there, didn't it? There. And it just helps, she says, that one will go down. Oh no, they all came out. But you understand the principle of it by putting some glue on the bottom and sticking them in, and then you'll have a nice tidy base. On this one I finished it off with a little bit of ribbon, so again you could add some ribbon for some finishing touches, but basically that's your box done. Hope you've enjoyed watching and lots of different ideas. This one here, for example, I've stepped it up slightly and made it so that I cut, instead of it being stepped down in a nice symmetrical, but it's still symmetrical, but I've used, this one uses, and it's gone down in steps of, so I've got a 4.5 inch, 2 3.5 inches, 2 5.5 inches, and then this one is a 1.5 inch box. So it's the same principles again. You can easily, I can put the measurements in the description below in the YouTube video as well. So if you wanted to do it that way around, you could. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy making it. Any comments would be gratefully received. Have a nice day. Bye.